guess we can just get started since we're running on some limited time here. So if you want to tell us like a little bit about what you're trying to build at Sakura and all that stuff, man, dude, I'd absolutely love it. I know me and you have spoken privately about it, and it's truly one of the only projects that are being built out in the space that sort of bridge that gap to like virtual businesses to like the brick and mortar businesses and stuff like that. It's sort of like this new term that people are calling called Web 2.5, and I find that pretty interesting, man. So, yeah, dude, thanks again for coming on here. And I guess how we can get started is like, where did the original idea come up from that?
Yeah, sure. Just quickly, my one of my co-founders is on the Sakuri account. It's a Milady, so if you can invite them up as well, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Okay, okay, yeah. We'll make them. Yeah, speaker. Mr. Producer, can you make Grit Cult co-host, please? Just so our connection is like as best as it can be. Just make Grit Cult the co-host.
Okay, cool. I'm co-host. Nice.
Perfect. All right. Everything good on Sakuri side?
Yeah, it
Yeah, it
should
looks
be.
good to me.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
essentially where the kind of concept came from was we were talking and working with a lot of alpha groups, and a lot of those alpha groups they had NFT passes, and with them, people would mint essentially, a membership, and they'd have access to it. And then there was a lot of like limitations compared to what it could be, and that's where the kind of idea kind of came up from. Just trying to address that immediate market of NFT alpha groups, or and creating a more sustainable revenue model of subscriptions. So what Sakuri is what we're doing is building subscription infrastructure. We're simplifying subscriptions to as much as we can. It took like Web 2 like 20 years to go from like Windows 95 to Stripe, and obviously as you guys know, like Web 3 moves a lot quicker. So what we're trying to bring to the table is that simplification and increased utility of NFTs. So the subscription itself will act in a lot of ways as an NFT, that can be bought, sold, and act as a primitive, because there's a lot of NFT financializations happening, and it can integrate with like wherever a subscription can integrate with. That's what we aim to address as well.
Awesome, man. So, what do you think some of the largest issues are for people to implement NFTs into their real world businesses, like your traditional brick and mortar businesses? What do you think is the biggest issue currently going on at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. So I've had a previous startup, and that previous startup was trying to bring um, essentially it was trying to bring like finance to businesses, so business financing on chain, much like pipe.com. And I mean there's quite a few issues with that. Like current web 2 models are like a exponentially amount times easier to use and better to understand than on-chain models. So in order for us to kind of bridge that gap, we have to kind of take a step back and create the infrastructure necessary to kind of allow these entities to exist off-chain. I mean, on-chain. So the goal, I think, for crypto as a whole is a new financial system whereby you never have to off ramp. So what we're doing in a certain sense is providing sustainable revenue streams. So, subscription is much more sustainable than a NFT mint out, where you make 90% of your lifetime revenue in 1 week, and then you kind of have to rely on royalties, which are no longer there. A subscription model is to many, like a blessing. So, and that's what we've kind of seen from the feedback of people that want to implement it. They don't really want to tokenize or be subject to, like the market conditions. Whereas if they have a sustainable revenue model of subscriptions, that for them just ticks a lot of boxes. And like sustainability is so underappreciated in just building businesses and profitability over the long term. So that's what we're trying to bridge the gap, I suppose, in that respect. And if businesses have to off ramp, like then it won't be as sustainable or it won't be as convenient. The other thing that I want to mention is essentially that like all subscriptions that trying to do what we're trying to do, I suppose, in an adjacent kind of field, they're very complicated to use. A lot of them are by like research labs. They None of them are like a one click kind of solution. You have to like pre authenticate, or you have to kind of log into a certain platform, and you have to like re-authenticate your subscription transaction every month. And if you miss it by a couple of days, you're kicked out. So what we're doing, we're kind of building on top of the ERC 4337 um, standard, which has a lot to do with account abstraction. So you can abstract future payments, you can delegate, authentication to something else, such as a wallet or another kind of smart contract. So there's a lot more optionality available to that, and because of that, you don't have to like continuously sign things. You can, it'll be more of a sign. You sign into your account, your wallet. You sign into your wallet, and then you can interact with certain things a lot easier that way. So that's what we're trying to use. And like the problems at the moment are is things are just complicated to use. There's a lot of like manual things you have to do. So one of the things that we always talk about is the amount of things that are like automated. So if someone doesn't pay or they don't want to pay, there's like automated expiry that will burn tokens and things of that nature, and that kind of built in. Whereas everything else, from like all the other kind of attempts at trying to do this, is very manual and built on like a lot more older technology. Even though they've kind of paved the way for us, they still have that old, outdated tech stack. And in crypto, my experience has been from a building aspect. It's like every 6 months you have to kind of reevaluate, the direction you're going.
And are you guys building on specifically on Ethereum, or are you guys looking to be like interoperable with things like the new tech stacks that are coming out, right? Like I know that you've been on a Spaces before with something like Bear Chain, which is built on Tendermint. Are you guys looking to like build multi chain, or are you guys planning to sort of do this through phases?
Yeah, so we plan to do it through phases. So we initially want to go EVM based, and most of the tech stack is going to be EVM based, and then we're essentially going to go in, from Ethereum or another kind of EVM based chain. We're going to slowly roll out, other chains, but our goal is to get to mainnet like as fast as possible, and kind of address all these other kind of markets. But we're definitely looking at Arbitrum. I know you're a big fan of Arbitrum and Polygon. We already talked to their kind of ecosystems. So yeah, like there's a lot of kind of like moving parts at the moment. But yeah, we're EVM based, probably going to start on Ethereum because we feel as though that has the most kind of NFT liquidity. And then move into like trying to address other markets. We do know gaming is a huge kind of potential that we're working towards as well, and gaming ecosystem in Polygon. I think, yeah, one of the CEOs of Polygon Labs or something, I can't remember which specific division, they come from a gaming background. So Polygon in general is very heavy on gaming. So we might prioritize that, depending on just, certain business decisions.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Um, so, Corey, if you want to add in something as well on the non-technical side, feel free to do so at any point. And I also invited someone from the Bear Chain community, Bull and Bears. If you want to say anything, feel free to chime in as well. And also, we're also joined by Michael. Michael, if you want to say anything, bring up anything to Grid Cult, feel free to do so at any time, guys. So I guess the next step, like in this general discussion, would be like, so how would this platform look like for the end user, right? Like if I want to use Sakori, if you can walk us through like from point A to point B, that would be absolutely amazing and beneficial for the people that are interested in what you're building out.
Yeah, for sure. So the way we kind of foresee kind of things going, and as the 4337 standard gets adopted by the major wallets, the way it would kind of look like would be you essentially you sign in to your you go to the security website, the app, you'll sign in, and then from there you kind of like pre-authenticated the platform to like interact with other smart contracts and the child contracts, and from there, what that basically means is you kind of log in and then you go to a membership or a subscription that you want to sign up to, and you kind of subscribe to it, and then that will transfer that the NFT will be transferred to your wallet, and then from the front end user side, you kind of buy it, and then it'll take the money out your wallet, and then you kind of set it up. I mean, you can just buy it and just and that will be that, and it will show you how much it'll take every month, or there'll be more like complicated stuff you can do. So like, you can go to a panel whereby it'll say, you want to pay in this specific token, so like USD, C, USDT, whatever, DAI, whatever you want to pay in, or if there's a certain token that the community has, like let's say friends with benefits, like if they want you to like buy the token and pay in that token for the subscription, we can allow that. Obviously it's pretty interruptible as far as things go, and yeah, so that's what we want it to be as simple as possible. You kind of log in and you kind of interact with it, and we feel as though the 4337 standard kind of like gives us a huge leap in terms of that. I mean, in the future, everything I think will be able to be done via wallet. You can do complete subscription management through the wallet, but that's more of a step in the longer term. And from the community side, so if you're a community and you want to kind of set this up, you'll go into the panel, and then you'll be able to mint a few, and then from there you'll be able to see all the subscriptions and tiers. We kind of see a large use case just from talking to our partners in terms of like tiered membership. So in gaming, you have battle passes, and then what we'll be able to do is create like tiered battle passes or subscriptions that hopefully have a secondary market, which we feel is pretty missing in the subscription industry.
Hey, Grit, how's it going, bro?
It's going well, mate.
Good, good. So I came in a little late. So is this like a subscription management service where people can go to manage their subscriptions and also buy and sell them? Is that what this is? I'm just a little confused in that regards.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like the entire vertical. So we want to create like a one-stop shop, or like an all-in-one kind of solution. So,
Okay.
so it'll be the entire vertical. So we will create the foundations of this as well for the subscription infrastructure to take place. So what that basically looks like is you kind of go in, and you can buy, and we take care of the back end. But because it's like it's a blockchain, we will have access to an entire kind of stack vertically as well. So if you want to manage your NFTs as well, like we can kind of build that in over time as well. So
So mhm.
initially it's just like subscription infrastructure, and then from there we'll be able to like build on top of it.
So when you say infrastructure, so say I have a service, so you're saying you're going to do the onboarding of the subs. I'm sorry if I'm like all over the place. I'm just trying to understand it.
No, we will provide the infrastructure that allows for like increased utility for the subscriptions, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
so we can directly onboard people to like subscription services, but we're gonna partner up with a lot of launch partners, and basically, yeah, just trying to get them, like if they want to roll out a subscription service, we'll kind of work with them, look much like how like PayPal or Stripe or even like OnlyFans or Patreon kind of operate. Like you can
Okay.
sign up with an account with them, and do that on Web2. So like it kind of fits that
And
gap.
who's your ideal end user? I know like not necessarily the niche, but your ideal. And if you had to make a customer profile of someone who would do business
Yeah.
with Sakori, what would that look like?
And yeah, that's a really good question, and a lot of VCs have been asking that exact question. So we
Mhm.
initially were going with NFT communities that had like were token gated, so like friends with benefits or any NFT community that wanted to roll out a subscription based service. But we feel as though that's kind of like small and niche. It's a niche within a niche. So we're kind of going a bit more towards gaming and GameFi, and trying to like create a serviceable market in terms of battle passes, season passes, and things of that nature. And the way we want to kind of work, and the thing that GameFi really needs is like seamless integration on their front end. So what that basically means is like when you're in a game, and I've worked at a Metaverse company, you don't want to sign out, like you don't want to take off your VR goggles, you don't want to look away from your screen or click another tab when you're in the game. So like logging out to sign your wallet, I think that's a thing of the past. And I've been saying for months that having to sign in for your wallet and sign every single thing is a barrier to like onboarding. People saying we should onboard the next billion users, but if our current solutions as a community and technology are much harder to understand and grasp than the current solution Web 2 that's out there, then you're gonna have a hard time convincing people, and it's more complicated than necessary. So we need to make it as easy as possible, and that's our kind of goal as well. So I've made like I've been in the space for quite a while, and we are trending towards that. And the technologies that we're building are like are even more pushing towards that kind of seamless kind of user experience.
Awesome, bro. Thank you for explaining that because I was just a little unclear about it. I appreciate that. Wabi,
Awesome, man. Interesting questions, Michael. Good to have you up here. I saw that
thank you.
that Bull and Bears wanted to speak. I saw them
Yeah.
off of mute. So if you want to chime in, brother, feel free to do so. I understand that you participated in our spaces over the weekend, man. What's up, brother?
Hey, not much. I just had a question there for Grit. It seems like you're looking to automate and stream payments, mainly through NFTs. I am curious. Have you taken a look at LlamaPay and how? Because it seems like, I mean, LlamaPay is obviously open source, so it kind of seems if you were to build on LlamaPay, they already have the automating and payment. It seems like kind of anybody can go through and set a similar system up without having to wait for infrastructure or more NFTs.
I would say that presumption is kind of false because we're building in an adjacent space. So Llama Pay, I would say it's more similar to Superfluid, which creates more of a wallet to wallet kind of interaction. What we want to do is essentially create a tradable, atomized kind of product. So the subscription itself becomes its own like entity in a certain way. That you can trade in between users, and it's already like pre-authenticated, and once it's in your wallet, like it automates kind of payments, so like it's already all packaged up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have? I see like the docs. I don't see any docs in there yet. Do you kind of
Yeah, we
have some?
don't we don't have I mean, we're like super early, so like I can send you the deck, but we are working on the docs. I don't know if the Notion page is public. I don't think it is, but yeah, we can connect, and I can send you anything if you're interested in looking in a more technical aspect.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great. I'd like to get a little bit more of a holistic view of everything you're going through.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother.
Of course.
All right, guys. If there's anybody in the audience that wants to join us in speaking about what Sakura is all about, any questions or any statements that they'd like to give, now's your chance to do so. So my next question for you, Grit, is I like how Sakura is going to be implemented really easily for the new user, right? And also to work in business to businesses and stuff like that. So my next question is, do you guys plan to roll out any sort of like private beta testing further along the year, or is that something that's going to be
Yeah,
sometime next year? Would love to know your thoughts, and also how that would look like. Would it be something like mobile integration?
yeah.
Would it be like checking out the UI through like desktop and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So I just want to say, like, if you take a year to make a demo in crypto, you'll just die. That's that's crazy. So yeah, we're actually working on demo. It should be done by end of this month. It won't be like it won't be on chain or anything, but it'll be like more of a user kind of demo, and then we'll build the back end to integrate with the smart contracts we're building by later this month as well. So we should have a demo within 4 to 6 weeks, and yeah, we can kind of go from there. So we're actually doing a lot of active outreach to potential partners and potential users in terms of just kind of getting their feedback and thoughts and what they're really looking for, and yeah, just kind of going from there. So I mean, again, I just want to say like we're super early, but like we've made crazy amount of traction. As you probably can see, Wabi, like you've been contacting us week on week, so you can probably see like the things going on under the hood. And there's a few things I can't really talk about, but yeah, like we have the demo by later this month, and yeah, we're just signing up people. So if anyone in the crowd is interested in working or seeing the demo, there should be a Notion form, or you can just DM me, and I'll send you the docs if anyone's interested. So we're doing a lot of like manual onboarding at this very early stage. On the other aspect as well, like yeah, we've tripled the size of the team as well. So we're onboarding. We're trying to hire quite a few developers as well. So if anyone in the crowd knows anyone that's looking for a role, hit me up as well. So yeah, huge amounts of really fast-paced development.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And um, I wanted to know your thoughts on the current market conditions as it relates to all things innovation, specifically tech. What are you seeing within the market, not only from like a development side, but also from a financial side? I know you and Michael like to, look at the market from a psychological standpoint, not so much from a technical standpoint. So I'd
More of
love
a
to know.
macro standpoint, so to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Grit, I actually had a question for you because you're more immersed in the crypto sector. What is your view? As you know, the Feds and Gary Gensler, who has a pair of shades on in his Twitter account, they're obviously making big moves, and it seems like they're trying to put choke points all around crypto. And I just wanted to hear your opinion, where you see the landscape going, maybe not just in America, but worldwide over the next year or so, or 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say there's really two giant hubs, and that's East Asia and yeah, Asia in general, and then America, I think. So in terms of the Western Hemisphere, so America, the way I kind of see it going is they are putting chokeholds on large kind of players that are just gaining too much power in the market. So obviously Coinbase and FTX, rightly so. I mean, and Binance as well. So, but I think the way it's trending is if you have a token, be prepared to talk to securities people, the SEC. So, like if your token represents something and has a monetary value, I think it's going to be like maybe not immediately or any like time in the future. I think you'll definitely be, investigated. So I think what Coinbase is doing in terms of like regulation, I think they are kind of underrated in the space because they had an IPO, so their interests are totally aligned with the American government, and they launched their own kind of like optimism fork, and they didn't have a token for that, so that kind of gives you a lot of optionality. And what I'm seeing from the investor side as well is in the bull run, because I raised for my last project in 2021, like peak bull market, and you didn't have to show these guys a deck, and they'll just ask you, "Have you got a token?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, we do have a token," and they'll just invest in you like without. That was pretty much the due diligence. That was the level, and now we're kind of seeing people wanting to get equity. So obviously, investors want more of a long term kind of play. They don't want to dump token as soon as public, and they're also looking for traction, a lot more traction, and a lot of VCs they don't want to invest in anything that's post I mean that's pre-product. So we're pre-product, we're working on that, we're building out demos and smart contracts and hiring lots of people. So yeah, in that sense, we those are the kind of few different things that we've kind of encountered from a builder's aspect. The other thing is people are still deploying capital even though they're a lot more hesitant, and a lot of like bad actors in the bear market have gotten weeded out, and a lot of people have kind of pivoted towards trying to make a quick buck on AI stuff. Even though I don't see that as like sustainable, just because of like the rapid progress. And I've been building on AI for like a few projects in the past as well, so I totally understand why people do that, but I don't think it's wise unless you have a huge leap already. So I think it's a pretty good market if you're building something long term in crypto, and you're gonna get like really good. Like, I mean, it'll probably be harder to get partners, but the partners you will get are going to be like very well invested, and they'll see the vision, and so on.
I do agree, and I think that's a really interesting point you brought up about. I do believe that if you are a crypto project, you have to be ready, especially if you're in the US. And if you want to sell in the US or do business in the US, I do believe you're going to have to register with the SEC. I don't think it's going to be anything major. It could be something like what we do with the bulletin boards over here currently in the stock market. We have pink sheets, we had the bulletin boards, and I think it's going to be something of that nature where you have to register. I believe the age of the Anon developer is over. If you're looking to be an Anon team, good luck surviving 3 to 5 years into the future. I don't think it's happening. Would you say you agree with me on that?
To a degree, I think the Anon dark development aspect will always exist. I mean, there's forks of Tornado Cash, so I think that will always be there. But for like and there'll always be a market. I'm a believer of there will always be a addressable market for demands and supply. So I think that they will always have that kind of thing, much like how there's still a dark web. Like you can still buy things off the dark web, if you're really so inclined. But the other
Do you think VCs will touch that?
Probably not. But like
Yeah.
there are like angels, or there are investors that do want to invest in tokens still, even though they're a minority. I think like to go like large scale, like OpenSea or Coinbase. I think yeah, you're gonna have to be well above board. Your team is definitely gonna have to be some sort of have some sort of like information given to the government. I think there are ways of like doing zero knowledge KYC. I think that's a huge thing, and I'm always a big believer in zero knowledge, and just having like your liberty, outside the haranguement of the fucking government. So yeah, I think there'll always be like some things on the side, but to be a serious player, like you have to have like huge influence in both kind of spheres. But I think yeah, definitely the SEC is taking more of a like development and understanding, and what we see, like I said like I think yesterday that OpenSea shouldn't have a token; they should IPO. I think that's probably the better move in the short term, let's say, rather than the long term. And long term, it's all up in the air. So, yeah, I mean, people, and I think investors are kind of seeing that VCs, hence they want more inclined to take an equity, and people like the SEC is more likely to work with blockchain companies that aren't essentially securitized on an underlying asset, which is what tokenization is in a certain way.
I absolutely agree. And I think what we're going to see is I think we're going to see legit protocols. They eventually are going to be in like NASDAQ tier exchanges, and they're going to have much more opportunity for actual growth, where their market cap could go into the several billions. And I'm not saying that can't happen if you're an Anon team and all that good stuff. And where I see the Anon privacy stuff going, correct me if I'm wrong, where I see the Anon privacy stuff going is to like the decentralized exchanges where you know what I'm saying, where there's no centralization and the money's held in people's wallets and people are trading peer to peer. So would you say that companies that aren't going the route of where they're doxing, there'll be like some sort of like underground marketplace like we just mentioned, and then the real players are sort of going to be like stock market, like trading on the stock market? Would you say that's where we're going? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good.
I was yeah
I think Grico went on mute.
yeah I was on mute.
You know, I
Yeah, so yeah, I think the government, like, what their main incentive is to like get tax dollars, right? So yeah, they definitely want to essentially capture some of the market, and they don't want to, like, America is probably one of the most innovation friendly companies, and they have the most and best fucking capital markets in the world. Nothing really like compares to the VC world or Silicon Valley and America, even though it gets a lot of hate. Like, it's pretty much responsible for techno capitalism of the 21st century. So yeah, I think America is very friendly to it just because of how much money potentially can be made if they do it in the right way. So yeah, like underneath the surface, like you might see a bunch of old people doing shit, but like underneath the surface, like people definitely want to make money from this, and if they can make it through within the system, they will. So I think there is a move towards that, and not a lot of people are talking about that, and a lot of people are just talking about when token. But I think there is an era for that, and much like there was an era of ICOs and IDOs and all these other kind of shits. So I think we're in that kind of era, but I think it will pass as the innovation and regulation catches up.
Yeah, you know what's funny? The last time, the last time we were on here together, I was talking about how the Nasdaq was going to start listing crypto companies, and I think they just announced it last week or a couple of weeks ago that they're going to be listing crypto companies. I think that's where we're headed, and I think that's why they're going at the Binance. Binance is going to have to get registered as a legit exchange, and they're going to have their books plundered, the whole nine. And I think that anything. So, like I said, I see the whole thing separating into two different pieces. There's going to be dark crypto, and there's going to be crypto above the surface. And the people, I'm not saying the people who are private and don't dox their teams won't do well. There's going to be some money moving that underground stuff as well. But I think if you want to be a real project and get real use cases and get a real customer base, you're going to have to go the legit way. From now on going forward. That's just my opinion, and we'll see how it shapes out.
I actually slightly disagree with you on there. I think we're seeing more DeFi teams or non anon teams coming out of this. I think of course there's always going to be people above board who are doing really well and are probably listed on Nasdaq. But the anon teams, I mean, they can just iterate and be more innovative at probably a 10x speed. So I mean, they're always going to exist and they're going to move faster and they're probably going to be bigger and kind of make more money than a lot
So
of
my
these
question
traditional
to
ones.
you is, and I respect that, and I hope that is the case. My question to you is, even let's just say they're totally legit, right? And everything's great, innovation is awesome, and they're doing everything by the book. But what happens when the government cracks down and literally just makes an example out of somebody? Then what?
I mean, it's pretty much it's already going on now, but I mean, I think it's just gonna push more teams to be in on really.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. I'm with you. What's the word? Ideologically, I'm with you. I just see it. I just see it from the point that the way I'm seeing this now, and I may be wrong because the government is slow, and I believe that the people who are doing this stuff will always be faster than the government. But my concern is when they start making examples out of people. That's what I would worry about, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But that if I was a dev, I would be making sure that everything is on the up and up, even if I'm not in on it or whatever the case is. I would be making sure my T's are crossed and my I's are dotted, if you know what I'm
And
saying.
Yeah,
definitely
I
gonna
mean,
make examples and look at Tornado Cash Dev still in there. So
They arrested Do Kwon, man. Like I think that
Well,
was
he
the
deserved
biggest
it.
that was like the biggest example of them all. And
No,
and
when I say example, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go on,
yeah,
brother.
yeah. No, I know there's sort of like a flow in the conversation, but I'll just add that like it seems that America is trying to put like this great firewall of China in DeFi, but it makes no sense because like if you look at Ethereum, right, and you check out like the I think I believe it's called the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, you'll see that like JP Morgan is pretty much at the head of the table, and when you look at the actual foundation of things like MetaMask, that's all Infora, right? And
JP
it's
Morgan's been in the game longer than all of us.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
You know?
man. And like you see like some key figureheads in the space, go across the world, speaking of world leaders and all that stuff. So I think DeFi as we know it is going to look a lot different over the coming months, but especially in America, but for the rest of the world, I think it's just going to be an upgraded version from what we see today. I'm not sure what that was. It like muted everybody. Wow, I think that's the first time that a co-host was muted.
no, sorry,
That's
that
crazy.
was my mistake. I was just randomly bashing.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I thought it muted me as well.
No,
That
I muted everybody.
jeez. Oh
Yeah,
man.
no worries though. What were you saying,
Yeah,
Wabi?
yeah. But yeah, it's like I think it might be something like like I think this is our version of the Nasdaq bubble. It's like, all right, all these things went down. Not as much as they did in 2018, because I mean, Mike, you remember, bro, in 2018, every single altcoin went down 98%, like 98%, dude. Some of them 99%.
Yeah, no, I think
But
the sector is a little bit mature, a bit more mature
yeah,
now, and there's
yeah,
less scamming and all that
but but
stuff.
I
So
but I think like the next wave of innovation, or quote unquote the next cycle, I think that's going to be like the true bull market for crypto, right? Similar to the Nasdaq run that we had from like late 2000. My bad. I'm sorry. The middle of 2009 all the way to late 2021. I think like we're going to experience a surge like that, where it's like, all right, right at the first quarter, we see like the innovations, and then the rest is just froth, right? And
Yeah,
I think,
yeah. I just want to say,
and,
like, the innovative aspect of like just technology itself is always at the edges of like regulation. So, like your statement on the like anon teams being faster and more innovative, that's 100% true. And then what you're gonna end up noticing in like even in like other markets is the more regulated stuff. Like they long term they have more like value capture. So like innovation is just not about like making something new. It's also about how you diffuse it into the world, and a lot of that has to work alongside network economies, and even like working alongside the government and regulation. And I mean, even if you look at Uber, like that's slowly being regulated. Gig economy laws have like kind of come in, and obviously they stifle progress in a certain way, but like that's always kind of been the trend. So and the other thing as well, like when I kind of speak in terms the time length varies as well. The government machine that is it's like it is slow to move, but once it moves and it makes a step in that direction, like that step is like way more permanent, and it's a lot harder to move in a different kind of direction. But like that stop is like definite, whereas the fringes, I suppose, they're more nomadic and they can move around and things shift and change. But as we've probably seen, like through Bitcoin development, like a lot of things that were probably innovations didn't just take hold, even though they probably were a technological innovation. There's a lot of other things that come into place.
I have one more point on it. Just if you're taking a look at Coinbase when they released the article talking about was it Base, their fork of optimism, or on top of optimism, they essentially called for Olympus to go and build on top of it. So although you're going to have the front facing major companies there, I think in the background you're still going to end up having sort of DeFi teams that are working with them, and then maybe those teams have the books, but the DeFi team has the on chain books.
Yeah, oopsie daisy. Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree. And like with Olympus, I think there are parts of the team that are more, let's say, on the books than other team members. But yeah, I totally agree with that kind of sentiment. And people are always going to reward outside innovators. I mean, even like governments, they hire black hat hackers. Maybe not on the books, but they definitely would like try to integrate like innovation that they don't have the capabilities of, and try to bring them into the system. And over time, that's just kind of been a trend. And I think it will continue to be so. In terms of timescales, I can't really say. It's all a bit up in the air, but I think trend is your friend.
hey guys, I got a question for Bull and Bears. What is the like? Why is the reason that most devs want to stay in on? Is there a reason for that?
I've tried to build a protocol and go the legit way. I mean, it's a million different things. You got to go, especially if you're US based. I mean, obviously, you got to go through, set up the company, speaking to lawyers, blah blah blah, everything SEC. But then, I mean, if you're just on, let's go, write a contract, push it out, see what people think. It's 10 times easier.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it. I was curious. Like, not that, like I said, I respect privacy. Ideologically, I am with the I'm all about dark crypto. Like that's what I like. That's what I loved about the whole, when I first got in 2017, that's what drew me into it. The whole idea of freedom, even if that was an illusion or not, it was still cool to think. So ideologically, that's where my head got. I'm just trying to look at it from both regards of where we're headed. And I still believe there's going to be a fracture, but we'll see how that plays out. It's going to be an interesting thing to see play out.
Is my connection good, guys? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
all good.
Yeah. I just wanted to say it's usually at the bottom of these crypto bear markets. There's always like this onslaught of attack on the industry, and usually from those bottoms we just rip from them, and then it's just like a bunch of a bunch of temptation for people to essentially create scams. If we're honest, do you guys think we're going to see a repeat of that, or is this when it becomes a bit more modernized, like all the Nasdaq companies that formed from the Great Financial Crisis, where they had like real revenue streams and stuff like that. I wanted to know the panel's thoughts on all of that before we begin to wrap up here with this discussion.
Just me personally, I think we're still going to see a lot of money grabs. I still think there's a lot of money grabs. Just because something looks, decent on the surface, doesn't mean it has any substance to it. So I still believe that's going to be an issue going forward. There's not much you could really do to stop some of this stuff. So I mean, you would have to really, really, really crack down to stop the scams, in my opinion. I'm not really a technical guy in this space, but that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, just my opinion on it is that like power and tech and like government itself or like regulation like is downstream of technology. So technology leads the way in essentially like how people operate within a society, and that's always been the case. So, like if you look throughout human history, going back tens of thousands of years, it's always been innovations of technology, so that lead to a change in how society fundamentally operates. So, like if before we were hunter-gatherer society, and then we had the innovation of agriculture, and then agriculture turned us into a more pastoral and like city dwelling kind of communities. And obviously, and then you have more and more population, more and more technologies and things, and that constantly changes. And obviously, the internet itself has changed how we communicate. I mean, I'm in the countryside near a road, and you guys in America, or wherever the hell you guys are, like that's changed as well. So, and how we like just operate in a society, that changes. So I think technology 100% will continue to improve and innovate, and scamming and all this other kind of things, like people always try to have attack vectors, but technology itself, it's like an arms race. Like the scams of like 2017 are no longer like relevant. There's new scams, there's new ways of taking people's money, and there's new protections against it. So there's this constant like evolving space, and market forces kind of dictate a lot of things as well. So like there are like countermeasures that are being developed, and technology itself is just generally improving. So there's that kind of concept to take into mind as well, of just general society and how it kind of evolves over time. So there'll always be scams, and there'll always be circumventions over time, and things will evolve. Saying that, I think the general kind of trend as well is, yeah, the entire environment, crypto environment market is maturing. This bear market, I don't know, like if it's the bear market or what, if it's crap season, but like it's not as bad as previous bear markets. Like VCs are still deploying capital. There's still a lot of players. People are still talking about it. They haven't quit crypto and gone back to their jobs, even though some probably have, and some more will continue to do so. I don't think it's as bad, because last bear market came, I got fucked, but so I think this is a lot more kind of like even keeled.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not bad. I had someone say to me this week, that there's no substance in crypto and it's a fad and blah blah blah. And I completely disagree. I think that every single solitary thing is going to be on the blockchain, and in the near future going forward, everything from assets, possibly every word we speak, every word we write. Who knows? But it's all going on the blockchain at some point. I firmly believe that. And also, like if you read Klaus Schwab's book, I mentioned this 1,000 times. He said that 10% of GDP will be on the blockchain by 2025. That sounds like it's a little early, but it's going nowhere. So, and we're very early here, still, in my opinion. So it should be interesting.
Mike, he said something about like how he wanted his salary to be paid in Ethereum.
I don't think he said that, but he did say, like I said, I don't like the guy, but everybody should read The Fourth Industrial Revolution. It's a fascinating book, and it's all about the, what's that word? The symbiotic nature of how technology is going to work in the future. It's pretty mind blowing. And he said the difference between this revolution and all the other ones is that all the tech we have now is going to merge into like an organism, and it's going to be pretty fascinating, man. And crypto is going to be a big part of that. So if you haven't read that book, it's definitely insightful.
For the individual behind the Sakuri protocol profile, if you want to chime in on this statement, feel free to do so. I know you haven't said much in the conversation, but if there's any input that you wanna give to this point, feel free to do so before we begin to wrap up, brother, if you'd like.
Looks like he's good, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Um,
sorry, I'm more so just
Oh, no,
joined
wait,
so
there he
we
is.
could have a count up here.
yeah, sorry for that for that awkward moment, man. I tend to
No
live.
worries.
I tend to live for awkward moments sometimes, man. but but anyways, man. A bull in bear's clothing. If you want to go, feel free to do so, man. I see that you like to write these threads, man. It's pretty cool, man. That was a pretty nice breakdown that you had from our spaces yesterday, dude. Um, that is impressive, man. This guy, he was listening to our spaces yesterday and wrote like a 7-piece thread, really quick and concise about the topics that were discussed. And man, props to you, bro. So, if you want to give any final statements or anything regarding this conversation, feel free to do so, brother.
Well, thanks, man, for the appreciation. Just cranking out some work, trying to get a little recognition in here and see what happens from there. But no, I've been loving the spaces, so that's all I got to add to here. Thanks.
No problem, man, dude. If you're looking to do that, man, if you're looking to, write like breakdown threads of spaces, dude, do not hesitate to hit me up, man. I think that would be pretty useful. And I see Snorlax is in here, so if you want to connect out of right after the space is done, man, see if we can hook you up here because Bitcoin. Be more than glad to facilitate that, man. But yeah,
Definitely,
man.
I went in. I sent you a DM asking for some recordings of anything Barrett chain there, so
Okay.
I am looking for a few more of those. I haven't gotten all of them, so.
Okay, no problem, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. But with that being said, I want to thank all of our speakers here up on the panel. Everyone in the audience, thank you guys as well for showing up. If you guys enjoy this space, it's here recorded on Twitter and will be uploaded onto our YouTube within a few minutes. And yeah, if you enjoyed this conversation, feel free to follow all of our speakers. Grit Colt takes part of these conversations throughout the week sometimes. Michael comes on occasion, and yeah, always interesting engaging with these guys and listening to what they have to say when they speak. Very articulately, might I add, and in great detail and all that stuff. So yeah, feel free to follow us here at Because Bitcoin and turn on bell notifications so you can see whenever I go live with these spaces. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time for the Crypto World Radio segment, and we'll be taking a break. I'll be taking a break at least on Friday for Good Friday. Got to rest up. Even the Lord took a break on the seventh day. So anyways, guys, thank you all so much. Take care. God bless you all. Follow our speakers. Thank you, Grit. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the individual behind Sakori. And there's a message up on the nest. If you guys are interested, if you guys are interested in learning about what Grit Cults and his team are building over in Sakori, there's a little thing up on the nest. You can click the Notion link, and you'll be able to find out more. Very bullish on what they're building, and I'm looking forward to what they put on the market over the next few years. And with that being said, I'm signing off right now. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye,
Take care,
guys.
guys.
Thanks for having us. Take it easy.